Death flags, all I see is death flags for Hawks. Yeah, this chapter of My Hero Academia is setting something dark up. All I see is some really bad stuff for Hawks' future, playing games in the middle, Endeavor. Didn't change that much. I mean, it changed a bit, but yeah, it's still kind of funny. And also the beginning of the chapter, I just gotta say, that cover page though, yo, they look like they cold chilling in the color page for the beginning. Like, yo, My Hero Academia. Let's talk about it.
Whether Facebook, Twitter, or the two, make sure to steer clear, cause I'm coming through like...
So this chapter, leading off again, getting back into the internships. It kind of went well. Like, it was interesting because the chapter starts off where we go into New Year's Eve, and I'm like, oh gosh, we're about to have a New Year's chapter now. Like, really, we just had the Christmas chapter, but thankfully, Horikoshi was like, nah, don't worry about it, fam. I got you. And it was only like, you know, a few pages in that we got of Deku going back home, which every now and then you do need that cooldown. I just don't like it when the cooldown goes for a ridiculous amount of time, but a few pages is absolutely fine. Getting to see his mom again, which a lot of people said it, yeah, her quirk should be that she's a good crier because the crying was ridiculous, but I think that was also to give the perspective from an elderly person looking at Deku. And what I mean by that is what his mom said of like, yo, one of the reasons why I always felt like I had to protect you is, you know, the way you was, you wanted to be like All Might, you had this incredible ambition, but you didn't have no powers, nothing, so I had to protect you. Now I don't really feel like that when I see you. So it's to show the character development, to show how much Deku's grown to the point where even though his mom kind of has a little bit of an oblivious outlook on things, she looks at it and is like, oh, I don't really need to watch out for you anymore, and it made her proud. But of course, again, the crying and everything, like, yeah, Deku's mom definitely got that crying quirk down packed. Cry, baby, cry, dry him out. Then we cut back to Hawks, and he's at the Liberation Front, and him with, what is it, Slidin, whatever the heck that guy's name is, dude, relax, which I'm terrible with the name, so forgive me. The dude with the long hair comes out, and he's like, he gives us a little breakdown of just how knee-deep, really, if you think about it, Hawks is into this whole infiltration thing. He's like, yo, he gives us the information of heroes, he gives us insight, he gives us, you know, live coverage of what they're saying and what they're doing. We get into their database, you see the satellite. He's like, yo, we got like 20 microphones all over the place. So Hawks right now is in a very dangerous situation because on top of that, he's at the heart of the villain's nest, you know what I mean? Which honestly, this chapter made me really wonder, what is his allegiance? Like, is it just straight up like, yeah, you know, he's just doubling up, but he's really working for the heroes, or is there even more to it? Because at the end, it was weird when he's with the Liberation Front book and everything, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But Hawks definitely, honestly, the chapter once again just made me think this dude is gonna die. Like, no, it wasn't Best Genius that died. That was probably like a front. Maybe they used a quirk on a dead body that they already found something, because this is obviously a delicate situation. But I don't think Hawks is going to make it out of all this. By the end of all of this, I think we're going to have a new number 2 hero, and Hawks is going to go down as possibly a legend. Maybe that's what the setup is, because remember, My Hero Academia, it does kill people from time to time. We had Night Eye took the L, you know what I'm saying? So why wouldn't Hawks? So definitely that part of the chapter, once again, showcasing just how messed up this is for Hawks. Like, he's being monitored at all given times. He even says like, yo, from now on we're gonna speak in codes because I'm being watched and shit like that. And of course, even though Dabi said that he couldn't identify if that was Best Genius and that, he did say that it was a dead body. So it's really making me wonder, like, what is going on? Like, right now, Hawks very, very mysterious of like, okay, he's seemingly doubling for the heroes, but at the same time, who knows, maybe potentially he's tripling. Maybe he's really working for the Liberation Army all this time, and even though they're called now the Liberation Front, maybe that's exactly what it is, a front. And because I'm still gonna lean on, and maybe I'm totally off with this, that's fine, crazy theory, Redestro isn't just going to completely change his ideologies because he took 1L at the hands of a super OP villain, and now he's going to just bow down to him. Like, again, maybe it is what it is. He found somebody that to him is the savior and the answer he's been looking for, and that's that. Or it could very well be that Hawks is tripling and he's working for the Liberation, and there is no alliance with the League of Villains. They're just playing their part until they get to where they're going, and then bam, it's gonna be it for, you know, this whole operation. But only time will tell. Is it just me, or were you shocked when we cut to the panel and we see Endeavor and he's like, hey, welcome to the Endeavor office? Is what you thought I'd say, motherfucker. Like, nah, fam, what you doing? I'm not even gonna lie, like, that was great. The transition between panels where Endeavor's kind of like with a little smile, and he's like, which don't get me wrong, I don't want him to turn into like All Might at all. Like when we see him there and he's there with the smile and he's welcoming them, like that's not Endeavor. Endeavor is straight up older Bakugo, just like uncultured swine to the max. Because like, yeah, when the panel cuts over and we see him and he's like, it's what you thought I would say, but I'm not in that type of mood today. I'm like, yeah, that's Endeavor. Not much has changed, huh? And Endeavor makes it very, very clear. Like, yeah, he's changed in terms of like, he's not vicious. He's not going to psychologically abuse of his family anymore. He's really trying to be the best hero he can be. But in terms of like, he's very outward with what he's trying to do. He's like, honestly, I didn't want these kids to come. If it wasn't for Todoroki, you know, if it wasn't for Shoto saying, yeah, I want to bring my friends, I'm only interested in working with my son. This is the one that, you know what I'm saying? This is the golden egg. So it's interesting because I always felt like, and again, this is the change, the dynamic change of, at first, obviously, it was that Endeavor just wanted a successor that would eventually pass All Might. Now that obviously All Might had retired and he's the number one, it seems as though he has that undying urge to make his son greater and whatever, but it's not as simple as it used to be. And maybe that's why he's calmed down a lot, because it's not just to, oh, I gotta surpass All Might. It's probably that he genuinely just wants to make his son the greatest hero of all time. But it's still obvious that it's like, yo, he says it multiple times in the chapter, like, I don't want you motherfuckers. Like, I just wanted my son, but of course my son gotta bring his friends, which if you take out all the superhero elements and all that stuff, is really just like, imagine you going away for the weekend to hang out with your pops and you bring your friends over and your pops is like, I just wanted to hang out with my son, you know what I mean? But the nerve of a character, I'm not gonna lie, this dude had some nerve, and the character I'm talking about is Bakugo, when he's like, yo, I was gonna say this before, but I gotta say it now, like, yeah, Endeavor's a hard ass. Like, yo, like, you out of all people cannot talk about somebody basically being an asshole. Like, not you, fam. Like, anybody else, that's fine. Not you. Like, you're the last person to say anything about somebody being that way. Like, bro, have you looked in the mirror lately? Like, do you realize what type of, like, it shows that Bakugo, and maybe this is something that by the end of the arc, he'll grow a little bit in. He's not self-aware at all. For him to call Endeavor out for that type of shit, like, bro, you're the worst of your whole class when it comes to that shit. Like, are you kidding me? And then we got Deku's perspective, because obviously Bakugo was like, well, you know, he's an asshole. Deku's perspective is, I used to be real scared of him, and I am scared of him, but I could tell his energy's changed. And again, I think that goes back to, yeah, he still only really cares about training his son. He's like, these other motherfuckers, like, what are they even doing here? But at the same time, he wants to train his son, and he's not willing to like hurt people. And it's not just a selfish ambition of like surpassing All Might. It's genuinely that whatever it is, his obsession with making his son great. So Deku, he could tell that the vibes is different now. Endeavor's still a dick, but he's not a dangerous dick. Pause. And then we get the flashback. All Might talking to Deku, saying, you know, the training's going good. Keep going with it, basically. So I'm imagining Deku's gonna try and use it here or there. Hopefully in this internship arc, which is already kicking off at the end of this chapter. Great. I'm glad. I thought it was going to be a bit before we see a villain or, you know, something go down. But maybe we'll see Deku here and there use it and get a big boost of being able, like, because right now, you know, last time we see, he could just go bloop. Hopefully we get to see him use it in a major way, whether it be a critical situation and he has to, which that's what pretty much Deku was doing with, you know, One For All, where it was like in a dangerous situation, he went from using like 1% or 5% and really had to step it up. Maybe he'll do the same thing with this quirk, where it's like, okay, I can't just use my fists, I gotta really go ham, and then he'll use that in a major way, and maybe he'll either lose control again, or be able to kind of master it, or get a good grasp of it, and use more than just bloop. And I'm glad that in the manga as well, there's some type of self-awareness, or some awareness in general, where All Might tells Bakugo, like, yo, you're very similar to Endeavor, fam. So, again, it's just all around, like, so before this even started, All Might told Bakugo, look, yo, you're kind of like Endeavor, but he still has the audacity to say, you're a hard ass, like, what? And, like I said earlier, Endeavor makes it a multiple time thing where he's like, again, I didn't want to train any of you. Like, Deku's like, hey, so what's on the docket? And he's like, I don't want to train none of you, fam, I only want to train Todoroki. But of course, there's some sort of villain going, you know, something is happening, and he tries to go off, and basically go on the mission, and they're like, hey, what do we do? And he's like, just stay behind and watch, which it seemed as though, to be honest with you, Endeavor was trying to be an ass, and I don't know if it was him protecting them at the same time, or it was just him trying to leave them in the dust, or what it was, if he was just trying to see where they're at. Maybe that was part of the training right there, saying stay behind and watch, and he's kind of like, hey, what's going on here? Well, I don't know. Did he react to it? The fact that they were able to basically keep up, they're following him. They're not letting him just go all the way in the lead. So it's going to prove to, at the very least, Endeavor that, like, yo, you thought that these were some weaklings. You thought that, they ain't had shit, but it was really me, Dio. No, you know what I mean? It's going to show that they're going to be able to prove themselves. Todoroki's going to show how far he's come. Deku ain't going to be looking like the wimp that Endeavor probably looks him. And Bakugo, he's going to be like, yo, so you're an asshole like me. Welcome aboard. And then we got this weird magician dude with a beard, and he's like, yes, I am here to advance the plot. No, but he says he's received divine revelation from space, and I'm just kind of like, what? Like, it brought me back to the panel earlier in the chapter where we saw a satellite. So I'm honestly, the end of the chapter had me just a little bit like, what's going on? Because we see Hawks, which poor Hawks, like, he can never do nothing. Like, he's trying to read his Liberation Front book, getting a grasp of things, and then at the same time, there goes something else, and he's like, oh my gosh, such bad timing, huh? So I'm wondering, I don't think that was a part of the Liberation Front that they sent this guy at all. I'm curious, is this a villain from outer space, or are we getting the first one, or is this somebody that we haven't seen yet? Like, what's going on there? And also, what was up with Hawks reading that book, Liberation Front? Was it just him getting acquainted with everybody in there? Is it him gathering more information? And then now that he's there, like, because maybe the bad timing as well is that, okay, now there's a villain in the middle of him trying to read this. And also, you think about it, bad timing, because Endeavor, I don't know if he saw Endeavor or not showing up, but now when he's on this covert operation, he's gonna have to run into Endeavor, and Endeavor's gonna talk, and God knows what could come out in the conversation. Remember, he has wired up the yin yang. Like, the League of Villains have everything that Hawks finds out and knows at this point. They're gonna find out and know, because they have him completely wired up. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this works. I don't think that he was a part of the Liberation Front, that weird magician dude. So I'm wondering, what is his goal? Why is he talking about he's received divine information, revelations from space? Like, what? So yeah, bad timing there. All around chapter, like I said, and I've been saying every time I see Hawks, it just seems as though he's going to be the next to go. He's the next Night Eye. He's going to die. They're going to make him bite the bullet. But kind of curious what you guys think about it, though. Do you think that as we see, he's doubling up. He's a double agent, but he's really working for the heroes? Do you think he's actually a triple agent and working for the Liberation Army, and he's not really a hero or a villain? He's with them and their cause? Or, like, what's going on there? Also, what do you think with this weird magician villain from space? Like, what's up with that? You think he has anything to do with the Liberation, and this is their plans going into motion? Or he's just a whole different, like, he's just a anomaly, so to speak, to the situation? And also, how you think this is going to go down with Endeavor running into Hawks, also Todoroki, Deku, and Bakugo being behind him? I wouldn't mind seeing, to be honest with you, this is something that I was thinking in the chapter, the way they were talking about how similar he is. And don't get me wrong, usually they don't like to pair up people that are similar to be hero and sidekick, but Bakugo would make a great sidekick for Endeavor. Two assholes, but then at the same time, it would cancel each other out, because nobody would want them to save them, because they'll save anybody and be like, yo, I just saved you, you piece of shit. You know what I mean? And your overall thoughts and expectations. Shame that there's no chapter next issue of Jump, which I don't know if it's coming next week. I heard that we might get the chapters early again, so I don't know when we're going to get those chapters, but no chapter next week. And yeah, I'm just waiting to see, is Hawks going to bite the big one? This was a very, very interesting setup working with Endeavor. That's going to be some hell of a thing, especially he doesn't want anybody but Todoroki there, but they're going to show him why. Yeah, like, this is why you need us, fam. But that's all I have for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And yeah, Hawks, you might be RIPing, boy.
Enjoy the next ride, but I was the best ride. But I